concept with that is, a lot of our communities do not have that initial capital to start businesses or what have you, just because of just what we've been through as a culture. And so this is a way for us to kind of try our best to level the playing field, if you will. The next bill is one related to rental homes, HOAs, homeowner accountability in relation to things such as apartment complexes or landlords of rental homes being accountable for their actions or inactions. Oftentimes we're finding, especially reports that we're getting over the past year, of people having issues at their homes, pipes bursting, AC not working in the summertime and vice versa in the wintertime. And when they put in the calls to their landlords, put in the calls for their apartment complexes, they're not responding. And some of them are living in terrible conditions, but there's no one to call. There's no one to respond to these issues and respond to them quickly. We've seen reports even in the past weeks where people are sitting in apartment complexes that are falling apart and no one's responding to them. So this is it's a bill. Well, actually, it's a very big bill that we're working on here to revisit our tenant laws in the state, because they tend to be weaker than other states. So the goal there is a number of things: to make landlords accountable, to make just the quality of life of renters, because in Clayton we have about 60-65% renters. Yes, but there's another layer to that, because we have so many investors coming in buying up all the affordable properties here. You can't afford to buy homes, but you can afford to pay the inflated rental rates that are happening here. So this type of bill, and we have one or two other initiatives related to housing, is what we are, is the aspect that we are trying to tackle with this particular bill. Luckily, I am working with some of my friends on the other side, on the Republican Party, and we're gonna try to see if we can come to an agreement that can help everybody, because what we don't wanna do is get in a situation where people treat people that rent homes like they're inferior. People that have rental homes or in apartment complexes, you pay taxes too. And you work with these other elected officials, you pray with them, you go to the grocery store with them, you deserve the same respect and you deserve the same rights. So that's why we're trying to tackle this landlord tenant issue and then try to address housing as a whole. I'll stop here because I saw a question. Go ahead.
I had a quick question in reference to the tenants' rights. Will this also include a way to monitor the price gouging when there's a new lease being signed? You know, what I've been hearing from a lot of families is that they're up for renewal on their lease, but the landlord took the rent up so high that they can't afford the new rental price.
Okay. So this particular bill will not. That is actually going to be addressed in a separate bill. And with that, we have to see how much we can get. And I won't know that until we start trying to push the bill and see the response of both parties. But that bill is drafted. I do have that. And it's in reference to putting a cap on, I'll jump down there too, putting a cap on how high your rent can be. I know really, a lot of people are really pushing back against that. But for instance, in Clayton, I think the rents are between 2,000. I see some tap dancing up to 3, but usually it's, to qualify, you have to bring an income in of 3 times that. That's like 75,000. I understand that, but the median income for this community is between 40 to 50. So we're being forced to pay increased rental rates, but we can't get housing. One, because there's not enough housing, and two, can't qualify, or you don't have the down payment, because you can't have a down payment if you're being overcharged for rent. So any extra money you would have had is going to pay the increased rent. So there's just so many layers to this process that we are trying to tackle, and that's why, and that's why this bill is so big as well. I know it's layered, I know it's multifaceted, but I think we have an opportunity here, especially with trying to partner with the other side, since they are in power, to get something done. So that is a bill. addressing the cap on rents. There's a bill addressing landlord, tenant, and how you to engage, and everything in between. We're actually trying to get a commission where you can report to. So if you do have an issue, instead of just having an issue, you have to deal with it. There's a place to report it to, and then that entity can then act on it. And other aspects of this is if you find that you are having to put out money and pay for something in the rental property, being able to hold your rent back and say, hey, I paid for this, you're not getting the rent this month. Or, there's just different ways that, we skin this cat, and that is what this bill does. Yes, ma'am. Not now. Now, don't do that now, because I can't come get you. But under the bill that I'm proposing, if you were to have an issue at your home, if you were to have to pay out of pocket and your landlord has not come to take care of certain things that have to be taken care of for the habitability of that home, yes, under this bill, you will be able to withhold rent because you've already spent that money trying to take care of the home that should have been covered under the landlord to begin with. So the next item is to increase the minimum wage to at least get it to where the federal number is, which is $7.25. Another option, another bill we're considering is an alternative boarding school study committee. So right now, when students are in when they're in alternative school, oftentimes they cannot. They're missing out on some of the other elements of the full school experience. Then also, too, by the time they get sent back to the regular school, it's like they keep being in this cycle. Now, this is a study committee, and all it's doing is asking parents, as we travel the state to get people's input on the bill, how would you feel about if you had alternative schools that were boarding schools instead, where the student would actually stay at the school, and so they won't get back into the trouble they were getting in their neighborhoods. So they don't have to go back home after the traditional alternative school option and go back into running the streets of their friends and all that kind of stuff. If they are in a place, they can go to a place for a time to get completely rehabilitated when it comes to their education, mentally, physically, probably even spiritually, depending on the school. How would you feel about that? So the question tonight is, how would you feel as a parent if that was an option for a child that was having trouble in traditional schools? And I think we saw it back in November, December, when the kid got killed in Atlantic Station, and the mother came to the city of Atlanta. She said, I've done everything. I've called the police. He's been in alternative school. He's been to this. He's been to that. He kept hanging with the wrong people, but every time he kept getting sent back home. If that child had this option of not going back home, being in a safe place that he can completely rehabilitate, learn new methods of conflict resolve, get the grades back to where they need to be, the question is, would that child still be here? Because they didn't have to keep going back to the bad environment that was keeping them with people and friends that they didn't need to be around. So that's another question I would love to get your feedback on tonight. This other one is a little interesting, but this is one aspect of it, but a counterterrorism sleeper teacher program. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the air marshals, but air marshals are on planes, and their only response is to respond when a terrorist is supposed to take the plane down or trying to take the plane down. They don't respond to fights. They don't respond to anything else on a plane. They don't respond to any type of disciplinary common issue between the flight attendant and the citizen. They only respond to a terrorist. So in this bill, it's a study committee, and all we're asking is, how would parents feel if we had a study committee where, one, we examine all the preventative methods that can be used to prevent school shootings in our community, from revisiting SROs, what that looks like as far as school resource officers, you name it, all those different aspects, to include allowing for veterans or combat veteran teachers to be undercover at the schools, and they only respond when a mass shooter is on the grounds. So for example, if this were an option in Uvalde, they probably wouldn't have had to wait so long for law enforcement to get there, because you had teachers undercover in the school that could get to their safe, get their weapon out, and they could have had the option to handle that or neutralize that threat. They didn't have to wait for the police. Now, the way this bill is written right now, one is a study committee, which means this is just to approve it, means it provides for a committee to go through the state for a year, get all of your input and how that bill looks. And if we were to roll it out, the question tonight is, how would you feel as a parent? Would you feel safer knowing that you had trained former military personnel in the schools undercover? No one would know where the weapons are. No one would know who the teachers are, only higher level administrators. The weapons would be in some type of gun safe, whether it's underground, inside the walls. No one would know where those items are. But as a parent, the question is, for me, how would you feel if this type of bill was put in place? Would you feel safer? Are you okay with it? Would you be against it? I would love to have your feedback on what that looks like tonight. The next bill, I think I went over the rental cap already. And I do have another initiative where I'm trying to decriminalize certain crimes. So for me, right now, as a former police officer, detective, all the fun stuff, I found that some things I didn't feel like people should be criminalized for. Well, no, people shouldn't go to jail for, especially things in the traffic crime space. Primarily because traffic crimes is where a lot of our black and brown people end up getting killed anyway, and it's for broken tail light, things like that. And those types of things you can still go to jail for. So the question is, as a citizen, how would you feel if we were to reduce the amount of jailable offenses? Like, I don't think you should go to jail for a tail light, and that's any day of the week. I don't know if I feel like you should go to jail for expired tag, just things like that. So a part of this conversation is outlining how you feel, or how would you feel if that type of bill was in place. Are you okay with it? Are you against it? And please make that known on your documents there. So at this point, I want to cover these initiatives, but now I want to get your feedback, any questions you have, anything you want me to expand on. Absolutely, go ahead.
I'm not a resident of Clayton County, but people that come back and forth from the food pantry, they're always looking for resources to help with utilities. Is that a certain bill or some type of initiative to help the people in the Riverdale area for help with their bills? Because I know, like in that city of Atlanta, they have a big thing with the water bill and the utilities being so high. Is that part of any bill to help people with these utilities?
So not a part of any of my initiatives, but at the same time, we already have, I think Clayton has a program, and then I think the state has a rental assistance program that those people can try to apply for. It is on my website, www.yasmin, YSMIN -Neal.com. I do have that information on my website, and it is on my social media as well. State Rep Yasmin Neal, all one word. So those items are on my website, but at the same time, there are things in place to help with rental assistance. Assistance with those things. Mm-hmm. I thought there was a state option. Okay, but I'm gonna look it up, because if there's an update to her point, I'll try to put it on my website. Yeah. Any other question? Anything at all? No, there's no crazy question. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, they still on.
My my question for you is, within the past couple years, you have people within I would just say Clayton County, that when the prices of the rent for houses or apartments have went up, they're now are staying in the hotels, or now they're camping out in different areas. Um, is there going to be some type of initiative to, for as the state, to allow nonprofits to create the shelters or what is needed? Because our local governments around here is not allowing us to be able to have a transitional place for the homeless or the people that they can't, you know, get that house or get that apartment because they're homeless and they're on the street. So there are no shelters in Clayton County. So there are nonprofits that want to do it and team up with other nonprofits, but we're not allowed to. Um, is there some type of initiative to help in that arena for us here in Clayton County to be able to help people more?
To my knowledge, I don't want to speak for the county, but to my knowledge, I have not heard of anything, but I do know at the Capitol, the conversations have been started about how to address some of the things you just mentioned. But instead of nonprofits having to do it, the state actually doing it. I have to check and see the status of those conversations because they kind of fizzled off last year, but that is something I can give you guys an update on as well, to see if they bring that conversation back. But yes, at the state level, they have been speaking about it, but it has been from the state level and not the county level. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
In regards to the alternative to alternative schools, the public school thing.
Yeah.
I can see the pros and cons of that.
Uh-huh.
So, but if a child or youth was there, would they have the option of having their family visit them, or would they be able to go visit family? Or would the goal be to keep them from returning to the community, so the visitations wouldn't be allowed?
So the way the bill is written, this is for a study committee. So that means for about a year, a committee will be established, and they'll go to all ends of the state asking those questions, but also addressing each one of yours. If they're going to propose a bill, they would consider everything you just mentioned. I envision it where the family can visit. Because the one thing when I was doing this that I thought about is the fact that, you can never get healed if you keep going back to the same place you were poisoned. And so I thought it would be best to bring the family there instead of putting them back into the situation we're trying to get them out of to heal from. Because the goal is to give you the tools you need so that when you do have to go back, you know how to fight. You know how to stand your ground against everything that can come against you, and you can still be successful. You don't need the boarding school anymore. I think somebody else. Yes, ma'am. Mm-mm. Mm-hmm.
They all want to be in here serving God about these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they're missing it right there.
Mm-hmm.
It come from the home. I got two more I raised.
Yeah.
Dang, Robin was getting killed on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I took them to church.
Mm-hmm.
Look at these people. Ain't no young children in here.
Mm-hmm.
Or he got a place for them to go if they come to go where all the kids need to go.
Mm-hmm.
But the parent ain't bringing them. But then they got all these issues out here. I'm tired of them.
Yeah, well, I understand, and I think the thing is, I think the churches do their jobs. You have the doors, you have them open, you have the events, you give them food, you do everything you're supposed to do. You can't force people to come here, but you can continue to keep the doors open. So I guess moving forward, the church just has to keep doing what it's always done. And yes, you're gonna get the extra people on Easter, Christmas, New Year's, but those are the opportunities to pour into them. But at the same time, don't get discouraged in these moments here. Definitely don't get discouraged in these moments. Yeah. Yeah.
With the with alternative school system,
Mm-hmm.
will it be state mandated enrollment, or will it be like parent volunteering their children to go, or will it be a combination of both?
like I said before, so those questions will be answered. You kind of work,
Okay.
so through that process, based on what all of you all say through that process, if a bill is drafted, it would include the culmination of what um, the citizens overwhelmingly prefer. But as far as what I envision is, I see it as we let each local government determine. We give them the power to do so, but we let each local government determine if they want to bring that to their county or not.
Okay.
Yeah. So you won't be forced.
Okay.
The more local entities can play a huge part on saying, hey, we had a school board meeting. The people in this county, they want to do it. But if the people in the county next door, they don't want to do it, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. Say it. Give that man a mic. No,
No. I'm saying I went to alternative school and it didn't really help me at all.
but to that point, look, see, he in church. He came to church. Right. Mhm. Right. Yeah. Gotcha. So, but to your point, sir, I mean, are you saying that you had a positive alternative school experience, a negative one? So you would see a benefit of if you were able to leave and experience something different, strengthen yourself, and then come back, your environment wouldn't have affected you as much if you had that alternative. Okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm a graduate of an alternative school.
Okay.
And so it really benefited me
Yeah.
because I just didn't do good in the larger setting. So
Yeah.
the alternative school, I volunteered to go.
Okay.
And it really helped me out. That's why I was asking, is it going to be mandated or is it going to be where the parents can recommend it or even the child like I did select that option? Hey, I think this will benefit me more because children mature at different stages and some children can make firm decisions that they know will benefit their life. And I was able to do that the way the alternative school was set up back then.
So I like the volunteer aspect, but I
Mhm.
think to the point I was making about the woman who tried everything,
Yeah.
I think the teens are a lot more troubled, and and they tend to feel like if they're gonna get sent back home anyway through the juvenile process, the people that are more troubled, I wonder if they would need to be mandated. Yeah, yeah. Give the option. I would like to see an option of both. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I went to alternative school.
Mhm. Tell us your story.
I went to alternative school because I felt I was mature. I felt like I was more mature than the people I was attending school with.
Yeah.
So I chose to go there because they treated me I used to always say they treated me like an adult. They didn't talk down to me. We worked things out, whatever I had to do. It was packets, we working on this, that, and me to finish it. It was like having a job almost because this is what you need to get done this semester and here they give you all of it at one time. Here you go. Work at your pace. The only thing I regret is I graduated in November, but my friends didn't get out to June.
And my children are growing at different rates. I think a lot of times in the educational system, when you're mature for your age, they take it as a disobedience or take it as you being mischievous, but you're just outgrowing
Yeah.
where you're at. So it helped me out tremendously.
Okay.
I counseled at a alternative school, the one on the back side of Mount Zion off Cleveland Avenue.
Mhm.
But what I noticed about it is that I truly believe that it should be a mandate. Because one that keep coming, keep messing up, and the parent not coming to the meetings that they have, I truly believe that's the kid that really need that attention.
Yeah.
And if you don't mandate it,
They ain't gonna go.
they're not going. Because the parent not gonna make sure they go because and being real now that the parents younger now. So they doing their thing and the kid have to get how they live. They had to figure it out.
Right.
But I truly believe that'll be a good thing because I know a lot, especially like Jamaican. When they have boarding school, look, they have doctors now, lawyers, and that's the difference. When I heard you speak about it, that's the difference that we have here. When you say boarding school, it wouldn't look like that boarding school,
Right. Right.
but it need to because it have to be more of a mindset change, mentality from the parent to understand that I'm not saying that you're a bad parent.
Right.
I'm trying to help you.
Right.
And that's the aspect that the parent have to look at, because the kid, you actually failing your child, not allowing them. Because the next move is prison.
Right.
So I'd rather for my child to be a whole year there. You don't have to see me.
Right.
We can talk. But I want you to do better.
Right.
I truly believe that'll be a good thing for me, because I was in it. I seen it.
Yeah, I like that. I think I do agree that it's a mindset change, and it also allows for us to so in reference, like the woman in Atlantic Station, we wouldn't have that testimony now if we had something like this in place, because there is an answer. And if we can move something like this would be an answer. You wouldn't have to have a mother with another dead son because they ran out of options. So the goal for us, especially at the Capitol, I feel like, is we propose legislation like this. We propose tons of different ideas to solve a lot of different problems and see what works. And let you all tell us, hey, I want to see that, I don't want to see that, and go from there. I think that's how it makes the best policy. Yes, ma'am.
Last question. This is probably a long-term question, but when we say mandate, so you're mandating that this parent have their child go to this boarding school. What is the repercussion to the parent if they choose not to send their child to this? So coming from social work,
Yeah.
like we have mandated and non-mandated programs, but when a parent didn't do as the judge mandated, there really wasn't a repercussion for them. It was just like, okay, we mandated, it didn't happen. So then it came back, if the child did something else, okay, well now you want JDC. And really it's because your mom didn't send you where you were supposed to go. So is the repercussion going to be on the child? Is it going to be on the parent? What would that look like?
I don't know if I have that answer yet, but at the same time, that is the purpose of this committee. Once we get all the feedback, if through the citizens coming and saying, hey, we don't want to mandate it, if the bill is drafted, that comes out of that committee, it probably shouldn't be mandated, because if you all don't want that and we draft a bill that you don't want, you kick us out. And that's how it should be. So I do believe that addressing that issue, addressing the pastor's issue about mandates or volunteerism and things of that nature that you guys reference, those would be the types of things that would come out of this committee. But hearing your feedback, I'm going to move forward with that bill, because I see that you all are interested in it. So go ahead. Is it okay?
The counterterrorism.
Yeah.
With the counter,
I was waiting on that one.
with the counterterrorism, it'll be a state mandated program, and with it being a state program, have y'all got as far as figuring out whether it would be based off of the population of the school, of how many officers would be in the school? I guess because my concern is I did a lot of work in the largest county school system. Well, I think it's the largest. But when you go to the north side, it looks like you're on a college campus.
Yeah.
But when you come to the south side, it looks like you're in a third world country. But it's the same school system.
Right.
And I was just wondering, will it be regulated where it would be impartial based off of the social economics of the community? Because I think that's really important.
So yes, I think that through this exercise, and it would be the same as the boarding school study committee, we would do that study officially to see if it would need to be based on those parameters.
Yeah.
Because to your point, a bigger school might need more. A smaller school might not need as many. So it just depends, and there's costs associated with that too. But that would be a part of the goal of this study committee, to see what works and what the citizens want. So.
Cause look, like if you go to a Doraville school,
Mm-hmm.
it's different parenting,
Yeah.
it's different wealth,
Yeah.
living.
Yeah.
So that was what I was about to hit on because okay, so if you come to this school on Bankhead
Mm-hmm.
and they might don't have that type of money, so is it gonna be according to
Mm-hmm.
the wealth in the county that you get these type of people,
Mm-hmm.
or is it gonna be a rural, like
Right.
for every county
Right.
that we have a sleeper in there? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it go like that now.
No, I get it. I get it.
So that was my question too. Like, is it according to where the money?
Right. And see, one of the ways, because the way the bill is currently written, there's a program called Troops to Teachers program where it helps military personnel that's coming out to become teachers. They have to go through this program in Georgia. So the original group of people I was trying to pull from was that particular group, because they're already in the state. They've already been through the process. All they're doing is saying, "Hey, I want to be one of these teachers," and going through the separate program that's established. So if that is the case, it won't matter the differences between north side or south side, because it's not based on that. It's based on the program the statewide program we already have. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, I love you. If you can, write this down, because I see you taking notes. My husband taught JROTC, so you got me thinking now about the funding. He still is paid by the military, even though he was in a high school and he taught a class. So can the military pick that bill up? I'm just saying.
It's very interesting because somebody else asked me that today. There might be some other options. Yeah. But you're making a good point. I was in a meeting today where there was a discussion there might be some other money that could support this initiative. Yes, ma'am.
I guess for me, with having the background with PTA, right, and I was in schools. It's not necessarily. Yes, socioeconomic. It's gonna be a big thing about it, but many of those kids that here in our schools, they don't really connect unless they feel like that person is there for them.
Okay.
So I'm not saying, they have to be the same skin color or whatever not, but how are we picking those individuals, or what's the process of how those individuals are going to be put in those classrooms or in the schools?
So currently, like I said, the Troops to Teachers program, that's already in place. So you already have teachers right now, whether they're combat veterans, you name it, they're already in the schools right now. All we're doing under this bill is allowing them the option to convert over to be an undercover teacher to respond. So they've already been pre-selected through the standards that the Troops to Teachers have already had. There are a number of I have a separate bill. I'm not sure if I'm gonna drop that or not, but it does outline the way we would prefer them to have additional qualifications, like 80 hours of weapons training a year. 20 of that has to be active shooter training, psychologicals every year, like all those types of things are outlined. But all we're doing under this bill is allowing for the study committee to tell us if it will be advantageous to use the current Troops to Teachers program, and all we're doing is activating those teachers that are already there. But to your point, I wouldn't really worry about the skin color, what have you, because these teachers, they're not the police. That's not what they're there for. We're trying to make sure that we ensure that the biases that are usually associated with policing is not associated with this. These people, just like the air marshals, you were not to respond to anything else. Your only goal is to make sure if a school shooter steps foot on that property, they don't step out. That's it.
And then
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not necessarily a question, but I would also love to for my PTA parents to hear all of this that you're saying right now. So just FYI.
Tell me where I need to be.
PT, well, Drew High School or and Oliver.
We can
So
work it
just
out.
FYI.
Yeah, just get me there within the next 2-3 weeks. Okay. Anybody else? And so my email address is on there as well. If y'all have any questions or any extra things you want to let me know, email's on there. And you got a question?
No, I don't have a question, I got something to say.
Okay.
Okay, when I was raising my two boys, if they go out and get a girl pregnant,
Mhm.
they see that I gotta take care of that child. How do I get that payment? So they're gonna put the responsibility on me.
Mhm.
So if your child acted up now, who gonna put the responsibility on to it? They try to get the child to do right, but the child keep going out doing the same thing. But Georgia doing it.
Mhm.
Atlanta doing it. They
Mhm.
doing the same thing. Everybody sitting here talking about a good conversation, but ain't nothing changing.
Okay. Okay. Well, but this is a start. So the first thing is having the conversation, seeing what you all like first, and then you've elected me, so I got to go downtown to see if I can convince 179 other people.
Okay, and make sure you tell them, the parents, if the child don't act right, they gonna have to pay for something. I'm for real though. I'm dead serious.
Look, we gotta-
Doing the same thing.
We got to get her down to the Capitol.
And they coming from the parent out their house, and the teacher got, listen, all this at the school.
I appreciate you. Anything else you might want to send to me, email me. No more questions, comments? All right. I'm gonna get your hair. Yes, ma'am.
I just had one little comment. I strongly agree with the increase for the teacher pay because I have 2 8th graders and they struggle with. It's kind of hard for a teacher to say what they're not doing if that teacher is teaching 2 subjects. So it's like y'all need teachers.
Yeah.
So I think and pay is a big effect of it. So.
Perfect. So far, you guys haven't told me you hate anything, so we moving forward. And I'll keep the pastor updated. So thank you so much. All right.